Hello, dear colleagues. My name is Al Muhammad, and today we have a floating thrombus of the right vertebral artery due to a high-grade proximal stenosis, which we've treated with an aspiration thrombectomy and stent implantation. It was a young male patient, 49 years old, smoker, and has arterial hypertension. He came with a very short episode of swaying vertigo, and after that, he was free of symptoms. In the CT scan, we've seen a small infarction in the pica territory on the right side. Other than that, we haven't seen any further infarctions or hemorrhage. In the CT angiogram, we've seen this floating thrombus in the lumen of the right vertebral artery. This is a floating thrombus in the lumen, and proximally to the thrombus, there was a high-grade stenosis of the right vertebral artery, which caused the thrombus. In the post-interventional CT scan, we haven't seen any increase in the size of the infarction, no other infarctions, and no signs of intracranial hemorrhage. To treat the stenosis, we've taken a balloon-mounted stent Resolute Onyx 4.5 by 15 millimeters, and immediately before the intervention, the patient was loaded with 500 milligrams aspirin and 300 milligrams clopidogrel, and starting the following day, aspirin 100 milligrams once daily for life, and clopidogrel 75 milligrams once daily for 1 year. And we've performed the intervention through a transradial axis. And here we go. We push the guide catheter benchmark with the Sophia catheter in the right subclavian artery and navigate the origin of the right vertebral artery and perform a 2D angiogram. And as you can see, there is a contrast stop in the right vertebral artery in form of a subtotal occlusion. And here we see this very big floating thrombus in the lumen of the vertebral artery. And we use this 2D angiogram as a roadmap and push the selective catheter into the aorta and configure the tip of the sidewinder selective catheter and pull it back, and now we can navigate the right vertebral artery, and now we can use the selective catheter as a rail to push the guide catheter into the right vertebral artery. And now we can start the aspiration. We connect the pipe directly to the guide catheter and aspirate, and now we take the Sophia catheter and push it through the guide catheter and start the aspiration through the Sophia catheter. We perform the aspiration thrombectomy step by step, and every time we go a little bit further with the aspiration catheter, but we stay in the vertebral artery. It's very important to aspirate while retracting, not while pushing, to avoid dissections. And now we can perform a 2D angiogram to see the results in the distal part. And as you can see, there is no thrombus material in the lumen of the vessel. Now we take a microwire Synchros Select Support 14 and push it through the guide catheter to the V3 segment of the vertebral artery and perform an aspiration thrombectomy through the guide catheter, and the microwire will be used as a rail. And we can perform a 2D angiogram, and as you can see, there is no thrombus material in the vertebral artery. We push the guide catheter again into the vertebral artery and perform 2D angiograms, and here in the posterior circulation, we only see a very distal occlusion of the right pica, which explains the pica infarction that we've seen at the beginning, but we don't see any periprocedural occlusions. And now we go to the origin of the right vertebral artery and perform a 2D angiogram, and as you can see, there is still this high-grade stenosis. In this case, we should be careful and perform a 2D angiogram in 5 and 10 minutes. This is the second angiogram in 5 minutes, and as you can see, there are some hyperdensities with a slightly collapse of the vertebral artery, and this is the beginning of a rethrombosis of the stenosis, and that's why this stenosis will be stented. And now we take our stent Resolute Onyx 4.5 millimeters by 15 millimeters And now we prepare the balloon-mounted stent with contrast agent and push it using the microwire into the guide catheter benchmark. And now we can pass the stenosis with the stent. I will leave only a small part of the stent in the subclavian artery and the most of the stent in the vertebral artery. And using this 2D angiogram, we can position the stent exactly where we want. And now we can inflate the balloon to implant the stent. And here is a single shot. And as you can see, the stent is open very well. And now we deflate the balloon and perform a 2D angiogram to see the result. As you can see, there is a small narrowing distally to the stent. We will correct it with the balloon. We push the balloon a little bit distally to this position and inflate it till 4 bar only, not a PTA, only 4 bar, and then we deflate the balloon and pull it back and remove it slowly so that we don't dislocate the stent. And here's the 2D angiogram, and as you can see, there is no rest stenosis. And now we have to check the intracranial arteries, and as you can see, there is no complications. The injection was from the subclavian artery, that's why the contrast is a little bit less than before, but all arteries are there, only the known distal pica occlusion. And now the last check of the stent, and as you can see, it's patent and we can remove the catheters. And thus we've reached the end of our intervention. As always, if you have any questions, you can put them down in the comments below. You can contact us per email to email addresses, and further contact options are in the video description below. Thanks for watching. That was Al Muhammad. See you next time. Peace out.